For our first study of Chapter 8, I would like to draw a very important distinction for why a Checkmate chapter would be in a tactics course, and how that's different from just going on your favorite chess website or buying a chess workbook and doing some 200 exercises with forcing checkmates and forced checkmates. That's number one. So number two is how this chapter will be a little bit like a chapter in a course on how to attack in chess, in particular, how to attack a king. And it's a fusion of the two. The thing is, if you solve chess puzzles on your favorite website, you're going to get a position, there's going to be a checkmate, and, either you won't solve it or you'll solve a checkmate in 3. And great, you got a checkmate in 3. But that person whose puzzle you are solving, right? Like that puzzle that you're solving from a game that was played, that individual got to a winning position already. They did the hard part for you. That is what we are going to try to do in the Checkmates chapter. You're still going to be solving certain positions where there are forcing checkmates, but it's about also getting there. So for this first game, one of the most common attacking patterns in chess is the H-file attack. The H-file attack being generally launched against a king, right? Whether you're playing with white or with black. Sometimes even if both kings are castled on the same side. Other times if they are not. This is known as actually the Chinese immortal game, played between Wang Liu and Jan Hein-Donner at the Buenos Aires Olympiad in 1978. So Chinese grandmaster, German grandmaster playing in Buenos Aires. And in this game, black played a peer's defense, white played bishop e2, and now rather than developing with knight f3 and castles, white played g4, which g4, and for any attack to work, you've got to either be attacking with your pawns or your pieces. Something has got to be attacking. This is a very provocative move. It's not a bad move, but it's, black is defending well. Black will be able to defend. Black played h6, just trying to prevent g5. And white made it very clear very early that white is going to hang out here. Like, if black wants to castle, be my guest, but this pawn could also be a target for a bishop and queen battery. Black played c5. And white can already maybe begin capturing and trying to open up the position, but Liu just played d5. And the point of d5 is that if you'd like to attack a person, a closed center is better because it's very difficult to operate the pieces while the center is closed. If the center is open, pieces can snipe each other. You can trade pieces very quickly. And here, white just went h4. And again, if you'd like to attack somebody, generally you need a little bit more than just like these pawns, but white actually does have a lot of the early makings of an attack. White has the bishops and the support, and white is going to do this in a way where he guarantees that something opens up. What I mean by that is white's next move is not going to be h5. While you would love to open the rook, black will go here, and that's not going to be that simple. Not to mention, black could even take. And then if you block your own file forever, that's not any good. The real move white wants to accomplish successfully is g5, if possible. If you're going to play h5, you've got to maybe use the f-pawn. Let's see how Liu did it. Black played e6, which is following many good principles. Trying to open up the center, open up the bishop, open up the e-file. White went g5. That's what I just said. Why? Because white targets the knight and the pawn in front of the king. Now black cannot play the traditional defensive moves, trying to block white's attack, because white has a bishop here. White never actually touched the knight on g1. Now we see an h-file attack. It's very common in chess how to attack a king that's castled without you being castled as well, or castled on the other side. Now pawn takes. White did not play that move because it attacks the knight. That's just a benefit. This is really what white is after. All right? And this pawn right here is called a hook. A hook is a pawn that is in front of a king that can actually be used as an infiltration point by the opponent. This is a hook because this pawn hits two things. So white is guaranteed entry into the position via trade. The knight goes back to e8, and white plays queen d3. Simple and straightforward. I just want to go to h7. And attacking and checkmating tactics in chess are very important because while it would be nice that all your games can end in checkmates, sometimes they can just end in big material loss by your opponents. If you have a big attack brewing on a person, they could sacrifice material to survive, but then you have a winning position anyway. So pawn takes d5, knight takes d5. Under normal circumstances, white doesn't even, need to take back. White could just play queen g3 and queen h4, and white cannot play this move because the second that this opened, discovery, bishop h3. Every element of this course ties together, okay? Like, you have to be very sharp and notice how different pieces open up when your opponents make moves, right? That's just purely discovery right there. White could play queen g3 and just try to get to h4 and try to get checkmate before black can accomplish anything. It might be possible, but I think, black is going to start playing moves like f5 sooner than later. And just like trying to get breathing room, trying to activate the pieces. So white just keeps control. Knight takes. The knight is ready to go. We're ready over here whenever there's an opportunity. And black plays knight c6. And white just goes queen g3. So this or this. Right? And we just have a plan to go to h7. And you remember the game, the Svidler game, where he checkmated in the corner by using a bishop. Do you remember that? That's a possibility as well. You never know if this bishop can come here and trade off that. So when you learn tactical play through the lens of checkmating attacks, you begin seeing patterns like getting rid of this bishop, right? Getting to one of those squares, opening up a file, allowing your opponent to castle before you do. Bishop e6, queen h4, mate is threatened. Black has to do something. Black moves the f-pawn. And now is a very, very big question, which arises a lot when you're attacking. When black plays f5, the question becomes, can you just go down there and win? Is there a win? You play queen h7, king f7. Is there a win? Because when your queen gets down here, if you don't have an immediate damage, black will play rook h8. For example, you go here, trying to do some damage. Black, your idea might be if you get your knight taken, you have queen takes g6, something like that. But you have to be very, very careful because if your attack extinguishes, this is coming and you're going to lose. So it is very normal when a kingside attack happens to start considering other options like en passant. But if you play en passant, then you have to make sure that you have a backup plan here as well. Like, do you have a win? The opponent might play knight takes f6. And the more that I'm looking at this, I kind of like the move bishop to g5. But then black might just go king f7. Anyway, black might not even have to play king f7. Black might play bishop takes. And then put the knight here. Who are you mating? If you take, queen takes. So it's important when you learn checkmating tactics, how they actually work with attacking play. So in this game, white did this, and how are you going to get to anything else? Do you have a bishop? How do you get to g6? You got pawn takes, you have bishop h5, you have help. You have help. The natural thing to do here is to play rook to h6. If you find this in a game, you're going to win, in all likelihood. But in this particular case, it's not so simple. Knight e5. And by the time you go f4 to try to pry away the knight, your queen is lost. So when you attack in chess, you have to make sure you have backup. You have to make sure you have help. And sometimes the most absurd moves are the best. And you always have to take a look at what is only protected by a king. And that is why in this position, I spoiled it there for a second, is actually queen takes g6. And the point is that now your bishop, your knight to seal off the escape, and your rook, combined with your pawn, which controls two key squares, and your bishop, which defends that pawn, Watch what happens. Bishop h5. The king is forced on the edge of the board. And now you seal the escape. It's very important. It's not about getting your material back in terms of your knight. You just need to prevent the escape. Now, in this position, white goes here. That might be the second hardest move to find after queen takes pawn, because it's very natural here to play rook h6, but after king g7, you have no more useful checks. You're going to lose your bishop, or you're just going to make a bunch of trades. When you are sacrificing material to create a checkmate, you need to get back more than you're putting in. Or at a minimum, you need to have a draw. I'm not saying you should go for a draw, but if you have a draw by perpetual check, like let's just say this was not possible and it would be like bang, 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 you know, back and forth, and you would make a draw. Depending on the game situation, maybe a draw is fine, but that's your insurance policy to not lose. But in this case, you go pawn to g6, which opens up a discovery of the bishop and the rook, and you take like this. And in this position, black resigned because king h8, and the king is coffined in. Bishop takes rook. The queen would have to sacrifice, and this is checkmate. And this is a very fun game because I think it underlines a lot of things. It underlines how to attack specifically, how to utilize pawn breaks, and the open H file. There was a lot of useful discoveries here. The battery concept of putting the queen on the same line as the rook, and then a beautiful sacrifice. With some discovered attacks intertwined, some very, very nice piece coordination, and the art of letting the opponent castle without you doing it. And the point of solving checkmate tactics is to actually find things like this in the game. Otherwise, checkmate tactics are just like fun little puzzles, but they don't actually hold a practical value. You have to understand when to go for a checkmating attack, how to handle it, and what's the best way to cash out, whether it's material or in this case, a violent king hunt.